I am so happy to be interviewing a fellow Purdue student who is a sophomore as well at
Yeah.
this moment. Nick Patel from Pittsburgh, if I'm correct.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name's Nick, and I'm a sophomore computer science student here at Purdue.
And you did something that, quite frankly, I think a lot of computer science majors should do, but not everyone goes this route. You decided to start an app called Food Flow.
Yeah, that's correct. So for the past about a year now, I've been working on this app called Food Flip. It just got published to the Apple App Store a couple days ago, and the whole design of the app is to make deciding where to eat easier.
Awesome. And what kind of, and by the way, I saw earlier today, it's on charts pretty high up.
Yeah, right now it's at number two, I believe, for the food and drink category.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Think of how many Silicon Valley people are trying to put a app out there. And here we are, which obviously Purdue has a great computer science program, but here we are representing the Midwest well. And I can say that because you live in Pittsburgh, so you are the Midwest too. You're not quite the coast. So
Close enough.
congratulations. Um, so being an innovator is something that not everyone's drawn to because you mentioned you have been working on this for over a year. It takes time. So it's great to see the hard work pay off in the first few days of this app being launched. But what kind of took you into the innovation route? Because there's so many people who just want to maybe work at Google as like a software engineer and they don't want to start an app. And obviously, maybe you do want to work at Google one day. But what made you want to start an app at the age of, I assume you're 19, 20?
Yeah, I'm 20 right now, so I started it when I was
So
19.
what made you as a late teenager, early adult, want to make this app now?
So a big thing for me is I like creating things that are my own. I really wanted to create something that I would have control over and that it was my idea. And from start to finish, it was 100% me. So that's a big thing I like. And then I've just been interested in software development, computers, just general technology ever since I was a little kid. So having something be published on the App Store is like a pretty big deal. And that's something I really want to accomplish for myself.
Well, congratulations
Thank
again.
you.
And obviously, what made you come into the food and beverage route? Because you can make an app, for math, which I'm happy you didn't, but there's math involved in making apps. What made you pick the food and beverage line?
So for a couple of years now, I've had the idea of making an app and I never got around to it, but I've like assembled a list of different things I've thought of, just random ideas that come across my head, problems I want to solve. And this one seemed like the best of it, like the biggest problem and the easiest to actually complete. And so a lot of times when I'm with my friends or if I'm with a significant other, we'll say we want to go get something to eat. And then the answer to where we want to eat is always either I don't know or I don't care, and then we're stuck deciding and like picking who decides and arguing about it. So that problem was really big just for me personally. It's something that I would use day to day.
And how did you kind of look through other apps that haven't had this feature yet to decide that this is something that would be, I guess, in your prototype stage like that? How did you kind of decide that this is something that you wanted to pursue really heavily? Because obviously there's so much that can happen in the year process. So what made you stick with it through the highs and the lows?
Yeah, so first of all, answer the first question, making sure it was unique. There's obviously a lot of like restaurant pickers out there, but pretty much all of them have the same functionality, and that it you either enter a list of restaurants or it searches for them, but then it just picks one randomly. The way I made my app, I really like it because it still leaves the final decision with you. Like you still maintain control of where you're going. It's not 100% random, but I might add a completely random shuffle feature later on. And then what made me stick with it was I took breaks here and then. Sometimes you get really stuck at certain points and you just kind of want to give up. But at the end of the day, it's just looking at the final goal and like realizing I want this to be on the App Store and it's not finished until I get there.
Which is just amazing. I mean, it's as an interviewer, I can relate to how long it takes sometimes interviews to happen. So you mentioned to get it on the App Store, which not everybody can do, is just something that's so wonderful. And what kind of is your favorite part of the app? Is that being able to use it now with your significant other or being able to use it with your friends?
I mean, just using it day to day. And so far, I'd say in the past week, my favorite part of having the app is hearing actually how everyone else has used it. So a lot of people have reached out to me and said like they used it to go to a new place to lunch or to find a new dinner spot. And that's been the best part is seeing and hearing other people actively using my app.
And do you have a favorite, and this is just kind of more of a fun question, do you have a favorite type of food yourself? Since we're on the topic of food, I gotta ask this question.
I mean, I gotta say, my favorite food is probably burgers, just in general. And then, but as far as like fast food restaurants or restaurants in general go, my top two are probably Cane's. I love Cane's. I just had it last night. And then there's a Pittsburgh chain called Permanis that's really big in my hometown.
Permanente Bros, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Yep.
And they make these giant sandwiches and they have fries and coleslaw, and then you get to pick what else is on it.
Wow. I've been to that place, so
Yeah,
very good
definitely one of
place.
my favorites.
And since we're on topic of Pittsburgh, real quick, because obviously I think college kids will listen to this. Pittsburgh can be a fun town. I've never been, but I've seen the photos. What's kind of somewhere that you would tell people to go if they're out in Pittsburgh, you know?
Definitely depends on the time of year you go. In the summer, I would say a Pirates game. While the Pirates are historically horrible and probably will continue to be
Absolutely.
horrible, PNC Park, which is where they play, is always voted one or two best ballparks in America. So 100% game day there is awesome, even if we do suck. And if you're visiting in the wintertime, the tree in Market Square, where we have an ice rink and the tree and all the buildings are lit up, that's probably the best thing to do in the wintertime.
And are you Steelers fan?
I'm a Steelers fan, a Penguins fan, and a Pirates fan,
Hey, do you
unfortunately.
have a favorite Steelers player?
Right now, it's easily TJ Watt. I mean, he's year in, year out the best player on the team, and he's just phenomenal. Despite a disappointing season overall for the team, he still maintains his top tier performance.
No doubt about it. And then obviously, and of course, you cheer for Purdue, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, big Purdue fan. I'm excited. I just got tickets to the IU game, the Michigan game, and the OSU game. So
Wow.
I'm excited to be there for all three of those.
Wow. And hopefully a better football season around the corner. And then kind of two last things. I always like to close with advice, which will be kind of the last question and the last topic, because you've now put out something. So you have input that somebody might not be able to give input on, which is really cool. But before we get to that, what route do you want to take in life? Do you want to create more apps? Do you want to, you know, I guess what do you kind of want to do now? Now that you've put one app out there, what's kind of going forward?
All right, so like I said earlier, I do have a list of ideas I'd like to create, and the hardest part is definitely getting the first one out. Now that the first one's out, I have the experience of developing it, of publishing it to the App Store. I'm pretty sure the follow-up ones will be a lot easier. So I have some ideas, and I'll definitely continue app development over the course of my career, honestly. But then professionally, I do want to become a software developer or software engineer. I'm starting an internship next week within that role. So I think I'll kind of work both sides at home in my spare time. I'll work on app development independently. And then professionally, I'll probably continue to stick with software engineering.
And obviously, this now ties into the advice part. I ask every single guest on my show, just about every guest on my show. I've had on some weird people, I'm not going to lie. Um, but obviously, what advice would you now have for somebody? And maybe they don't want to start an app, but maybe they're into the tech world in some sort. Maybe they want to start. I mean, obviously, no disrespect, but like you couldn't really start an Apple right now because it's already out there. The market is too competitive for that. But what advice would you just have for somebody who's maybe a CS student like yourself, or maybe even not a STEM student? Somebody wants to start their own product. What advice would you have for them?
I think anytime you have a goal of completing a product or a project, the hardest part is starting it. So my recommendation would be to come up with your final idea, like your final goal. What's the last step you want to take? And then just start working towards that as best you can. Small steps, big steps, doesn't really matter. As long as you're taking steps every single day or every now and then towards that final goal, you'll eventually build the experience necessary to complete what you really want to do.
Wow. And I always like to close with three fireball questions. No, I'm not asking you about alcohol. Do not worry about that. But favorite subject?
Computer science, and alongside with that, the more like general term math,
Math.
probably.
Do you like geometry or algebra better?
Definitely algebra. I hate geometry.
I can't do
Much better
either.
with numbers.
Um, and then do you have a favorite, a dream country to visit, which perhaps your app will be able to get you to go to that dream country?
I can hope so. But the dream country I definitely want to visit is Greece. I'd love to take a vacation to Greece.
I was gonna guess you were gonna have to say that. Like, I'm not even joking. I
That,
was just like, there's something about it.
yeah,
You're not Greek, right?
no, I'm not. But Greece just looks beautiful, and it's a place I definitely want to visit.
It's becoming a Gen Z hotspot. I swear everyone says that. One of the basketball players I interviewed also said that. And then obviously my last question, my last fireball question is if you had to root for another college, what college would it be? I'm really interested in hearing this one.
So my answer is 100% Michigan. My dad went to Michigan, and ever since I was
My
born,
dad went to Ohio State.
oh, ever since I was born, I've been a Michigan fan. I was raised a Michigan fan, and also raised to hate OSU. But
I was raised to
100%,
hate Michigan.
100% celebrated their natty win last year. Watched almost all the playoff games with my dad. Loved every moment of it. And then I'm really excited for the Michigan Purdue basketball game because this year both teams are good, and it's not going to be quite as much of a blowout as last year.
Since my dad will listen to this entire interview, do you think Michigan cheated or no?
I don't think it matters. By
Okay.
the time they got to the national championship, if you didn't change up your strategy, it's not our fault. And alongside that, OSU still lost this year. Whether or not they win the Natty, they're still the team that lost to one of the worst Michigan programs in the country.
Fair point, but we could debate that more off camera. But I think we can both agree, boiler up, hammer down.
Absolutely.
And congratulations. And one last thing, where can people go to find more about Food Flip besides the App Store? You guys got social media, I'm sure.
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's just Food Flip app, one word. And then my website is nickpatel.dev, and you can find it at /foodflip or straight from the homepage.
Congratulations,
Thank
Nick.
you.